So, real quick note about completing and submitting your work in Algebra 1 2. Um, we will not be doing worksheets, and we will have review worksheets, but in terms of the daily classwork, daily homework, it's all going to be on your own paper. Now, if you want to put your work in a notebook, that is totally fine. Just be very, very careful that you don't lose your notebook. That's a huge, huge thing that a lot of people encounter, and I can't grade something that I don't have. So make sure that you are careful about that. So the classwork, you get 5 points for, and the homework you get 10 points for every day. So the classwork is the problems that we do as a class. They're the ones you're going to find on the videos. So you get points for writing down what we're doing, but only 1/3 of the points for the day. The 2/3 comes from the work that you do yourself. You are able to check that work, so make sure that you're doing that to make sure you're doing it right. So when you submit your work, here's what I need to see. In the top right, unless you're in a notebook, just make sure your notebook is labeled, your name. So that's my name. Obviously, you will write your own name. And make sure you write whatever is in the grade book, because if I have a TA and the TA is grading this, they don't know what name you go by. So make sure you're writing your actual name. The class period. And I'm going to go ahead and write period X because it could be any class period. And then the date. So today's date, this is made in June, and it's June 6th. 16. So, name, period, date. On the right side, you need your actual assignment. For example, section 1.2, and then whatever the classwork problems are. You don't have to write the assignment number up here, but you'll want to label it classwork. The homework part I want you to be much more careful about. So when you do the homework, so this is all your work here, all the stuff you write. Later, when you're labeling your homework, I still want you to put section 1.2, homework, number 1379, and they get less obnoxious than this. This is just skipping around a lot. 16, 21, 33, 35, 47, 52, 79, 80, and 100. So you're going to write down those problems, and then when you actually do the problem, you need to make sure to put number 1 and then the actual problem. So for example, number 1 on here, I'm going to actually go find it in the book, section 1.2. Number 1 has convert each mixed number to an improper fraction. You don't have to write down those instructions, but do make sure you're reading them in your book. A lot of people skip that. So this is 2 3/8. So that's my initial problem, and then I do 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 3, all over 8, which gives me 16 plus 3 is 19 over 8. So that's my answer on number 1. Make sure you put a box around your answer. Make sure that your number is well labeled. and make sure that all your answers are easy to find. A lot of people have a tendency to try to jumble stuff together. If you have to use 5 pages of work, which you shouldn't, but I mean if you just have bigger writing, then make sure you separate your problems really carefully so that it's really easy to find all the problems and grade them. So that's it. Make sure on all of your papers you have your name, date, and period. If you're doing it in a notebook and the front is labeled with your name and the period, that's fine. Just make sure you have the date and the section number when it's the classwork and when it's the homework. So make sure everything is labeled very clearly.